The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by the new Ford Super Duty, built to work harder for you. By the Comcast Triple Play, the best in TV, phone, and internet. By the new Chicken and Biscuit Bowl, dig into great layers of flavor with KFC. And by Lowe's, proud home of Jimmy Johnson and Team 48.
You want to sum up this evening, just listen to Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his spotter Steve Meal.
Damn, if this ain't a race of attrition, huh? Yeah, from about lap 40.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
First caution at lap 48, 16-car pileup, lap 54, 5-car wreck at lap 62. But despite all that, there's only 7 cars in the garage.
And despite all that, Larry, what did Mr. Hendricks say a couple of weeks ago about how come they've won so many races?
Other teams have fumbled. They've been there to pick up the ball.
And there they are.
Getting set to go green with 174 laps to go. Green flag. Riding with Jimmy Johnson, looking back at Matt Kenseth, making a run off turn 2.
Now, one thing I've noticed about Kenseth, he is really good on new tires, which is kind of unusual for him. He's usually a long run guy, but I've noticed tonight he goes on new tires.
Tony Stewart slips into 3rd.
But that 17, Matt Kenseth did get a run
trouble.
off turn
Kyle
2.
Busch is in the wall.
Yep, he actually slapped it pretty good with the right side.
He did. It's pretty used up.
No caution.
You know, I was just about to say, I think the biggest thing Alan Gustafson with the 5-car, Kyle Busch, and Doug Richard with Brian Vickers is remember we got good cars, be patient.
And you know what, though, Larry, with the 5-car, and I think it's a young guy, a young driver, they had trouble in the pits. They had to change a battery. He'd been up front. Now, all of a sudden, he loses his focus, and he gets concerned about what they've done to the car, having to change a battery, and he overdrives the car.
And you could see him. He got up there almost just too high in the late exit of turn 4 where there's no grip. Car just lost grip, hit the wall.
You've got to, when things happen, you got to let it go. You can't let that mess up the rest of your night.
Now Brian Vickers restarted back there with Kyle Busch. Vickers now running in 12th place. Jeff Hammond can show us what they did on that long stop.
Mike, what they were trying to do on the 83 car is to find out whether or not they had a loose line or if the belt itself was loose. This is the pump that actually takes the fluid from right here, circulates it down to the power steering box itself. They went inside there and made sure, hey, that line up there is a little bit loose. They may have tightened the line up, and if they felt like they were low on fluid, they'd pop this top off, put a little extra fluid back in there, and hopefully that'll take care of that 83's problem. It's not a big deal to drive this car without power steering early on in the race. It's the final 100 miles that's really going to wear on that guy behind the wheel. Krista?
Well, Jeff, it was back on lap 212 that Brian first started saying he was having the power steering issue. He said it was intermittent going in and out. He said he wanted his race car to be a little bit looser, but he wouldn't be able to drive it any looser because of the power steering issue. His crew chief, Doug Richard, said, hey, buddy, if you made it through Bristol, remember he had the overheating problem where he actually burned the bottom part of his legs in Bristol. We said, if you can make it through that, you can make it through this. Brian said it's going to be okay. They are cheerleaders for him on the radio. Right now, they're trying to do everything they can to salvage an incredible finish, probably their best of the year here at this track.
All right, let's remember the coin. We'll manage all the distractions we got. When the power steering goes out, it's going to go out because it's probably going to get no better, okay? Just hang in there. Let's do the best we can. We got a good nice deal here.
And you know, Darrell, that's one thing I know about Doug Richard. Obviously, he knows a lot about a race car, but that's one thing he has been his entire career, no matter where he's been, is a good cheerleader. A cheerleader for the driver or a cheerleader for the crew.
You know, I read a great quote the other day, and it applies to racing. Expect failure, just don't accept it.
There you go.
Mark Martin making gains now that the lights are up.
Uh-oh, what time is it?
20 to 9.
20 to 9. Okay, I'm just keeping track.
All right.
And of course, he told you under the pace laps about 3 hours ago, I'm waiting for 9 o'clock to come.
I told him we'd give him a wake-up call.
All right, set your alarm. Meanwhile, we'll go to the Infield Care Center. Dick Bergman.
It's been a busy place at the Infield Care Center. Rookie David Reagan has just come out. An innocent victim. Is it easier to take it knocked out of one of these things when you're innocent or when you know you did it?
Oh, it hurts however you look at it. Jimmy Finnick, all the AAA guys, did an excellent job preparing a great Ford Fusion for me tonight. And, you know, I thought Carl was going to come up the track a lot faster than he did. But just one of those things, really disappointing. But, you know, I got to thank AAA and everybody for all their support this year. We're having a great time. We're going to get better, and we'll get him at Dover.
He had a good run going tonight.
I tell you that. I like that young guy. He's always upbeat. He's a lot like Carl Edwards. He's always sees the bright side.
Matt Kenseth, your leader. He's led 8 laps tonight. And that's more than any other Ford driver has done. There's Mark Martin moving past Mayfield and up to 8. Put a few more turns in the spring of that alarm clock.
NASCAR on Fox, Lowe's Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon, the points leader, but out of this race, our forward bold move, Matt Kenseth, leading for the 10th time this year. The only car other than a Chevy in a Ford to win a race this year. Kenseth taking the lead ahead of Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Tony Stewart. In the marathon race, it was a mangled mess of metal here. A few laps after a Jimmy Johnson tire had 15 cars involved. Jeff Gordon high in the air. Tony Raines causing the wreck. Gordon was okay and maintains his points lead. Jeff Burton came in 5th in points. His view of that Gordon wreck was that he survived it, but some 17 laps later spun out and fell well behind and will fall in points. Carl Edwards came in 10th in points, spinning with apparent tire problems. Teammate, the rookie, David Reagan, who'd been running up front, into him, and then the veteran 51-year-old Bill Elliott, the 88 Cup champion, wrecks moments ago, bringing out the 8th caution of the race. And our Coca-Cola race summary here in the 600-mile event, and we're closing in on 400 miles. At the 100-mile mark, Kurt Busch was your leader. As we look at the lead change here, Jimmy Johnson going in front of Matt Kenseth to take advantage. Elliott was your 200-mile leader. Jimmy Johnson, your 300-mile leader, and has the lead right now as we rejoin Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. It is now nighttime, and we're fully in phase 3 of this race. We may need to set Mark Martin's alarm clock 15 minutes early, Darrell, because it's time. It's time to go, even though there's still more than 200 miles left to race here tonight. Jimmy Johnson goes back in command. Kenseth now 2nd, and Tony Stewart has moved into 3rd ahead of Dale Jr.
We're still in the 3rd quarter. You know, 100 laps, 100 laps, 100 laps, and then we go into the final 100 laps. That's when some of these guys will get their wake-up call.
And depending on how cautions fall, we still will have about 2 to 3 more pit stops. I know we've talked a lot about Brian Vickers and that Toyota Camry, who's in the 10th place right now, but a great run for this Toyota right here. Jeremy Mayfield in the 36 car hadn't made that many races this year. A lot of them did not qualify, but sitting there solidly up there in the 8th position.
He's an Owensboro boy, you know. He grew up in Owensboro there, so maybe it's the water. It's on the Ohio River, or maybe it's the barbecue, the mutton that we all eaten all our life.
Steve has more.
Yeah, Mike, I just checked with the crew on the 36 of Jeremy Mayfield, and I said, what kind of changes did you boys make on the last pit stop? They said none, and they were pretty proud of that, Matt Yoakum.
Two stops ago, Steve, now Ryan Pemberton and Mark Martin's crew chief was warning him that there was considerable brake dust on his wheels, to keep that in mind for later in the race. But if we're looking at that 9 o'clock hours when Mark Martin's car is going to really come to life, he's better hope he's got a few more adjustments that he can make before 9 o'clock, because that car is extremely loose. Mark says he just cannot push it at all because it just jumps completely sideways.
Yeah, Matt, his lap times have fallen to about 0.6 of a second slower than race leader Jimmy Johnson right now.
Follow up a little bit on the 36 car, Jeremy Mayfield. I think I read that's where David Hyder who was under a suspension since February working on Michael's car. I read Tommy Baldwin said they were going to put him over there, and he's back in action next week.
Ricky Rudd, the Chesapeake, Virginia native, having a nice night here. His Robert Yates Ford running 11th after being as high as 3rd.
But you know, Darrell talked about him earlier. This is a brand new car. They were fast out here during the test. They had a great qualifying run. And this is Ricky's 60th career start here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
And this car, it's got a beautiful paint job on it. You really can't see it that well in the daylight, but at night it starts to really pop. A pretty purple with the flames on the side of it. You know, flames. Purple.
And we know you love flames.
They're good.
Jimmy Johnson leading by 1.5 seconds in the Power of Pride Chevy. Let us not forget what we celebrate this weekend. Memorial Day tomorrow. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, it's called the greatest generation. Those men in the 1940s, like your father Vern, who helped design the P-38 fighter, or my grandfather Earl Keller, who fought in the Navy. NASCAR official John Sacco also knows firsthand what the words heroism and sacrifice truly means. His father Joe was a decorated soldier in World War II. The first beach he ever saw was Omaha at the Normandy invasion. He and his buddies in the 92nd Battalion fought their way across Europe under the leadership of General George S. Patton. After a year of fighting in the most historic battles of the 20th century, Joe helped liberate the Dachau concentration camp. And thankfully, for history's sake, he recounted all of those tales in his book, Where the Birds Never Sing. So those heroic men who lost their lives along the way will be remembered always.
Thanks, Matt. Joe Sacco is waving the pit road is closed flag because Kyle Busch, trying to keep his car on track after hitting the wall in 4, keeping on track until the next scheduled pit stop, didn't make it.
I'm surprised that he made it this far. The right front of that car was really killed when he hit the wall earlier. Finally cut that tire down.
That poor right side has taken a beating. We talked about it earlier in the show. Right as practice started last night, he hit the wall at the right side. They spent that entire practice and this morning repairing that car. And
wrecked his Busch car, and you know, all he really wants to do, I feel really sorry for him. He's all I want to do is get through a weekend without any issues. But boy, the last 4 or 5 weeks, he has worn these guys out.
Well, it's a judgment call when you hit the wall as hard as he did in turn 4. Do you try to ride it out to the next pit stop, or do you come in and fix it then?
You know, the car looked terrible from my vantage point, and I don't know if the spotter didn't see it that way or not, but I would have brought him in long before now.
I just saw his crew chief, Alan Gustafson. You know, I don't think there's any finger pointing going over there, but the frustration is bleeding through the entire team. You could just see the frustration. We met Alan Gustafson in the pre-race, and you could just see the frustration right there.
Pit road is open for this 9th caution of the night. Here's Dick.
And Matt Kenseth is probably going to take 4 tires. They were still discussing it as Kenseth came down pit road. Steve.
Tony Stewart said, I found a line on the racetrack that I like. I just need a little bit more rear grip because they're going to make an air pressure adjustment, Matt.
4 tire change for Denny Hamlin in the 11. He'd like to be able to get to the gas a little quicker. Slight air pressure change. Krista.
Jimmy Johnson said he's concerned with how the 17 could get to him. It's going to be spring rubber changes, adjustments in the left and right rear.
Well, this, as you said, Mike, we're into that final phase, and that's where that group has always been so aggressive. The 48 car, Canals and Jimmy Johnson, knowing what change they need for these last 140 or 50 laps.
Jeremy Mayfield in his Camry wins the race off pit road. 148 laps to go here in Charlotte.